How is the audio now? I bet that is much better. Welcome, welcome, everyone. I am so honored to be here. It's such a pleasure to be tuning in live with you. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Elizabeth Tripp, and tonight you're going to be going on another journey of self-discovery. Really, this is your chance to sit back, relax, and go deeper within. Nourish the soul. We're here to awaken you to your heart, help you really unlock your true power, and really open up to deeper understandings of yourself. And what I love to do is be able to bring us into a deeper presence with our sacred temples, our bodies. Um, and in between interviewing guests, I love to do these solo shows where we get an opportunity to really commune with ourselves, to really go even deeper within this relationship that we can cultivate with ourselves. And I love to begin each show when I go solo is to begin with getting into our heart. I say this to my clients and to many of you who have tuned into my solo shows is that our heart is the center of our being. It is our true nature. It is the essence of who we are. It is our soul self. It is where we have a doorway into the universe within us, into wisdom, into our power. It's our connection to source. It's our connection to a greater sense of self that we can obtain when we allow ourselves to slow down, really come into the body, get out of our heads, and step through this doorway within our heart into our soul. And our soul, it knows us better than our mind does. It knows why we're here. It knows why we are experiencing what we are. It has insight into the reasons why things are the way they are in our life. And the soul is really driven by experience. It loves to experience, it loves to learn, it loves to grow, and it loves to evolve. So when we look at tonight in its totality, I want you to be tuning into and tapping into your human life experience. And as we get present to our heart, really connecting to this notion that our soul knows why we're in this human experience, whether that be in our own individual life experience, in our own family dynamics and those experiences, within our work life space experiences, and even as a culture within our own national experiences. I know tonight's election night, but I'm going to really place that aside and hone in on the real beauty of this moment that I have as a thought leader, as a teacher, to have this platform to spread a message, to take advantage of really tonight's episode, rather it be being about anything particularly related to the current climate of events and new election, to rather really focusing on a special message of being a light and what that means, how to be a light in these times, in this unique set and setting, that this part of us, that our heart has access to, our soul, our source self, our creator or creatress self, our divinity, an infinite intelligence, part of us that is unseen and seen, alive and well in all earthly things, nature itself. Really dropping you in here, feeling this depth that we're going into is part of us. want you to remember this throughout this episode. This part of us knows why we are here right now. It knows why we are going through the experiences we are, and it has a greater understanding. It holds a greater knowing. It sees, feels, and believes there is a purpose for everything, a good purpose for everything. So, before we fully get into the message today, let's take a few nice, liberating breaths. The breath is our freedom. The breath is our passageway back home to ourselves. Whoever forgets to breathe, right? It's an unconscious action unless we become aware and conscious of it. So let's become conscious together. Let's become aware. Let's have presence. Because when we are present, we're actually operating from the heart, soul, creator aspect of us, the divine aspect of us, the part of us that is infinitely intelligent, unseen and seen in all aspects of our world. So let us breathe together a few times, taking a nice big deep breath in, filling your whole body up with oxygen, life force. When you feel your whole body is full, head to toe. Yeah, nice big one here. Let it all go with an just letting it all go. Letting go of the day, letting go of any worry, letting go of any tension, any anxiety, any stress. Try that again. Breathing in really life in itself, this force of life, breathing it in, filling our rib cage, filling our chest, filling our shoulders, filling our bellies, feeling that air going up through our head, down into our legs, into our feet. And just ah, ah, letting it all go. And one more time, it may be useful as you breathe in this big breath, right? This big breath, you can start now breathing it all the way in. Maybe you squeeze your fists tightly, taking it all in, taking it all in, this life force, this rejuvenation within yourself to bring a new in. And once you feel it all the way in your body, head to toe, let it out with a sigh. Release your hands. Letting go of the day, letting go of any stress, tension, and worry. And setting a powerful intention as we close our eyes, if it is suited for you, available to you. And we bring awareness from our inner mind's eye into our heart center. Just by thinking it, we bring awareness from our mind to our heart, noticing the spaciousness we have within ourselves. We affirm something together, repeating this after me. I am now aware of my heart. And with that awareness, starting to see that just becoming conscious of this part of your body, you're starting to notice maybe some sensations, some feelings, and perhaps you can even use your imagination and start to see there's a sparkle there. There's a light. And just growing your focus, wielding your imagination towards the possibility there's a light, there's a sparkle, there's an aliveness here. Attaching your focus towards that. Affirm to yourself when you see just that spark, that twinkle, that light. I am connected to the light at my heart. I'm connected to the light at my heart now. And I am willing throughout this broadcast to allow my heart to be the driver of my experience from here on out. I am willing to see what I need to see, open up to what I need to open up to, and shift into what I need to shift into. And knowing this as intentions are powerful, this to be true. You are going to get something very powerful out of tonight's broadcast. And I encourage you, if you like what you're hearing, share it on your Facebook, share it on your to a friend, give them the YouTube channel. We're live on YouTube on talkradio.nyc. We're on Spotify and Amazon and iHeart and iTunes. If you miss these live episodes, share if you like this message and let me know. Comment on my Facebook. I'm open to hear it. But tonight, we're going to be really exploring what it means to be a light in our world, what it means to embody this in our daily lives. This is such an important subject. There's so much that is, happening for people within their daily lives. And then there's so much that's happening on a massive level within our own cultural structures and paradigms. It's like you can't go throughout your day and not see something that shows you that there is some person, including yourself, that may be struggling in pain, facing a challenge, having something come up that they're needing, to really face head on. And maybe they don't know how and they're struggling. I bet all of us are seeing this, right? People struggling, people trying to navigate life. There's a lot going on. So tonight we're going to look at how can we, be a light? What does that mean? How can we embody that? And is it possible for me to be that? Maybe I feel like there's a lot of darkness in my life. Maybe I feel like life is very heavy. How could there be light? Things feel so heavy, so dark, so scary. Well, I'm going to give you something to really grasp a hold of. No matter what's happening for you, whether that's individually within your families and relationships, your work life, or in your community, or even nationally or globally within our world, you have a light. You have a light. And it's within your heart. It is in every single one of us, no matter what we look like and where we come from, or even sometimes the actions we take in life. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to keep diving in to this really powerful subject.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
If you don't have your health, what do you really have? It's time to feel good in your body and shift from struggle to ease. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul, where we explore the sacred wisdom of your body while you sit back, relax, and go on a journey of self-discovery. Join me every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to awaken your heart, transform your well-being, and unlock a deeper understanding of yourself.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
welcome back. This is your host, Elizabeth Tripp of Nourish the Soul. Are you ready to turn your struggles with your well being into your greatest strengths? Right? Everything in our life that is going on, it's safe to say, can actually affect our well being if we don't know how to navigate it in a powerful way. Again, whether that's individually or within your family dynamics or within, your work life or as a nation or a global community, if we don't know how to navigate these challenges that we're facing, we can often end up really noticing our well-being gets affected. Our sacred temples, our bodies starts to bear the brunt of, our own thoughts and beliefs that start to form as we maybe struggle to find answers or understanding for the things that can feel really challenging, or just really scary, right? Or something that we've never really faced before and we don't feel we have the confidence to even, be able to move through in any grace. This is all normal, all normal. But what we want to introduce to you is that within us, we have quite a bit of wisdom. We have quite a bit of power. We have quite a bit of resources of knowledge that we can actually call upon during a challenging time, during a time of uncertainty, during a trepidation, a place within ourselves where we're really struggling. And we can, when seeking answers, find it. We can find an answer within us and we can understand for what greater positive purpose is an experience here to serve us in a way to teach us, to open us up to new understandings, new perspectives of ourselves that perhaps we've never really been able to entertain or accept, but we have on some level possibly desired, right? Because again, our soul, the space within our heart, when we're present to it, it has a pull and a draw to go through certain experiences because the soul recognizes that experience is what allows for it to evolve, to grow, to learn, to shift in its perspective. So the soul needs experience. And if our experience were to always be easy all the time, if it were to be very much like, at the end of the rainbow with the pot of gold and the butterflies and the sunshine all the time, the soul itself would actually say, okay, there isn't much growth, there isn't much learning here for me. I'd like to move into a new experience. I'd like to move into a new opportunity that allows for me to have some contrast, an ability to kind of, allow me to see myself in a new way. Well, what is that contrast in our lives? What is that contrast? We all need it and we all experience it. So just get present to that. This contrast is the challenge. This contrast is this, you know, fear of uncertainty of a new unknown, or this contrast can be, feelings of anxiety or anger and frustration, or deep sadness, grief. And so these things in our life are actually placed within our awareness, right? They're generated within our awareness, not to create suffering, right? Not to be a form of, constant pain and suffering, right? But to be catalysts for transformation, for growth, for deeper wisdom to be found, for, strength to be, discovered. So, on a fundamental kind of place where we want to sit, being a light, to be a light, means that we have this openness to see life from that perspective. We have this openness to look at life from a lens of, okay, there must be something much, much bigger than my mind can comprehend that's outplaying not to just create suffering and chaos, but to actually positively benefit me in some way, to positively benefit me in my growth, in my understanding, in my ability to pull new perspectives into my life that I can connect to that feel aligned with a deeper truth, that feel aligned to a deeper truth, and that actually in that alignment create more ease and freedom, right? So we want to start to see some of the fundamentals of our perspective as a light. And we all can be lights. We all have a light, no matter what, no matter what we decide to do. And if often those decisions can lead to what we call bad things, right? Um, we still have a part of divinity within us because something bigger created every single one of us. I mean, we're on a planet that is in a universe that's spinning around in space. So how could it not be possible that something created this rock we call a planet that's in a dark space surrounded by gaseous lights we call stars, that has miraculously a sun that shines and creates the ability for the right kind of condition for us to thrive. There is something bigger. We can call it whatever we like, God. We could call it the creator, the source. But importantly, as a light, we want to know we're not separate from that. Every single part of our being, the fibers of our being, from a molecular level to the way in which our cells are intricately designed to how they form tissues and organs and systems so that we can be alive. I mean, we're a pure miracle. So we have this divinity within us. When we cut our thumb, we don't need to necessarily depend on something outside of ourselves to regenerate that skin and for it to heal. Our body knows how to do that. So, point being is that there is a spark of light that keeps us alive every single day of our life. And we tend to forget that, especially during challenges, during a challenging time, during a time of uncertainty on the unknown. It's very easy to fall into a fight or flight response and to get into our head and get lost in the emotion. And that is not bad. But as a light, we want to remember that because we see life differently, because we're not necessarily attaching to the status quo, and we're not, necessarily, you know, believing every part of life that we have been told is true, that we kind of like to be trailblazers and break through different kinds of paradigms that often limit us. We often become um, embodiments of hope and joy and peace for others. And we start to cultivate this sense of compassion and kindness for the challenge, for the trepidation people go through. Because as a light, we have an honesty about ourselves. We're in our integrity. We own our power, really. We know we have a light within us, that there's a power, a source within us that is guiding us through our life experiences for a positive purpose, to learn lessons, to grow. So we're not avoiding responsibility when things get tough or when something happens and it's out of our, quote unquote, control. We actually create ways to pause and get connected to the temple and go within and explore. That's the basis of a light, so that they can be in their power. They can see things clearly. And in this, it means we start to embrace life differently. We look at things from this understanding that things are just as they are. Things are just as they are. It is what it is. This is what it is. This is a challenge. This is a climate that is very divided, right? We're sitting at a dinner table and one person has a perspective on the mashed potatoes. Let's say that is, oh, they're a carb. They're gonna make me fat and I can't eat them. They're gonna, you know, there's something that they're just going to sit on my stomach, or another family member is looking at the same mashed potato or potato and saying, oh, this is perfect. It's going to fuel me. This is going to be broken down so easily, and I'm going to have the energy I need tomorrow to have a great day. You know, these two people are divided in their perspective, right? And the energy between them can be, no, I'm right and you're wrong. No, I'm right and you're wrong. Who's ever had that experience before, right? Where you have a perspective, you're looking at something and one person thinks their view is right and yours is wrong and vice versa. So there's tension, there's anger, there's maybe even, a sense of force of energy that's growing, right? So what do we do with that as a light? What do we do with that, right? If we're there observing, do we take on all that energy that's so charged with anger, that's so charged with frustration, that's maybe got some shame in there, that, approving, a sense of wanting to be able to see that they're enough because they have a perspective that differs from somebody else, maybe a sense of fear and anxiety. Do we take that on? And because someone doesn't agree with us and see our same perspective, do we have to feel like in some way we're wrong or that they're wrong, right? Because they just view something differently. Being a light requires that we're able to kind of have an elevated view of things and not get into what we can call the rough and tumble of stuff, right? Into the gritty, nitty, dirty part of things, right? We call the big drama that we can so easily get into because we have human minds. So as I talk about this, we're getting into the fundamentals of the light. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk a little bit more about this subject.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Nourish the Soul. I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host. we are unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves, really awakening to our heart and transforming our well being just by being present to this conversation, right? We can open ourselves up to new perspectives. And what we're talking about today is being a light. And a light understands, right, that, you know, the world is going to have contrast. The world is going to have things that are actually going to be a part of our experience, right? That allow for us to be able to see ourselves better, right? And so in the last segment, we were just dropping off about where we headed into the break, we were talking about, being in a situation where someone sees something different than the other person. As a light, what do we do? Do we take on all of this? We take on the heaviness? We want to recognize this is a part of the experience and that with an elevated perspective, we can actually understand there's something outplaying, right? There's something outplaying a soul lesson or a collective lesson that needs to be learned when there's that kind of division, when there's that kind of, you know, um, energy, charged energy between two people. And the example is we're talking about a potato for dinner, and one person thinks, this is healthy, and the other person thinks it's not. One's going to go right to their belly and their hips, and the other one thinks it's going to give them energy. So who's right or wrong, right? Um, and all so much can come up from that. So, I'm not here to judge or really take a stand in either way, except offer this perspective that, you know, there is something unfolding. There's something each of them need to learn about themselves through each other, and that all of this charged energy, whether it's anger, frustration, whether it's some sort of grief or, anxiety, whether it's, a feeling of being not enough and needing to prove it, it's all a part of their soul's greater plan for them. And that this person and this experience at this dinner table is serving a greater purpose to open up to something bigger for themselves to see, something bigger for them to be able to integrate within them, that their higher self, their soul self, their heart wants them to get an experience in this life of, right? That's really different. And we can plug that into smaller scale things and larger scale things and use that same framework to understand that. Because being a light does not mean you're going to be positive all the time. It just doesn't. It's not possible because we have a human element to us, a human mind, human needs, and a culture that we live in, right? That feeds certain things that become normal for us. So, we have these elements or aspects that are part of our human nature, right? So part of that is that there are going to be dynamics. There's going to be shifts in our moods. There are going to be things that, people say and do that are going to trigger us and create charged emotions within us. And that we may, as most people often do, may act out of, anger or spite or even fear and say things that we might necessarily not, say things we might not mean, but at the time feel like there's something that, we want to prove or a point we want to get across. It's okay. As a light, it's okay if this has ever happened to you or continues to happen to you. The thing is, being a light, this really means that you have a deep and intimate relationship with the dark. We're talking about dark things. We're talking about anger. We're talking about lashing out. We're talking about name calling. We're talking about, disagreements. We're talking about proving, the value of your opinion to somebody else, getting them to try to, agree with you. And if they don't, making them wrong. Those are dark things. As a light, we have an intimate relationship with these dark things. We actually see them much differently. As a light, we understand they need to exist. They have to exist. They have a right to exist. We can't just, demolish or get rid of the dark. Again, the reference to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, we'd have no contrast. We'd have nothing to kind of rub up against the edge of our being, of our light, to help us become aware of ourselves. We actually need these things. We need them to be able to evolve in our understanding of ourselves. And a light understands that on a smaller scale, on a micro scale, within the personal relationship they have with themselves, their body, to then as it grows outwards, you know, relationships with their significant others, to kids, into their families, into work dynamics, into, you know, community dynamics, into national dynamics, into global dynamics. It's like we need these things to actually, these dark things to be present, to become aware of ourselves, to become aware of the power we have to choose who we are and how we want to see ourselves and how we want to understand ourselves in the world, right? If we don't have these things, these experiences, we don't actually have anything to help us remember who we are and what purpose we're here. And so this becomes then a template we work from, because the darkness isn't something we fear, right? We honor the fact that an anxiety can come up from someone, you know, maybe challenging us, and we feel insecure about our own opinion of ourselves, right? So, you know, for example, if we have a viewpoint on, again, I'll go back to that potato at the dinner table, that it is unhealthy, and someone challenges that, and we feel insecure with our viewpoint, likely out of fear, we'll want to try to prove to them that what we think is true. And so we'll put a lot of energy into defending ourselves and showing that what we believe is the right thing. Okay. But as a light, we want to see that even if we do this and we fall into this kind of human dynamic, that it's all okay, because it's the presence that we want to have to that. It's the awareness, the consciousness we want to start to cultivate towards ourselves about not making that wrong necessarily, but understanding that it's really helping us see something more deeply within ourselves, that perhaps as we grow a more secure and embodied viewpoint, that if someone disagrees with the way we see something, that we can still remain in our own personal power within ourselves and not take what they say personally, not attach it to our own identity, not view ourselves through the way they understand something, or not based off of what we believe is true and what they don't. Does that make sense to everybody? Because it's a really important part of being this light and honoring this, you know, sort of space where we can meet a shadow in an interaction in an everyday circumstance, like eating dinner at the table with our family or some friends, to bringing this and plugging it in to even a more national or global experience that we may go through, right? Where we are in the presence of darkness, or we're interacting with, you know, a lot of heavy or dark energy, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of chaos. And can we see that it's all here on a greater level for a deeper purpose, to awaken ourselves, to help us remember something really beautiful within our heart that we're here to discover, to better understand who we are, to help us then align with our deeper truths, so that we have more of our own sense of ease and freedom in our life journey, to really express ourselves and do what we came here to do, to fulfill the mission we have in this life, so that in the end of life, right, we actually feel very accomplished. We feel very fulfilled. We feel satisfied, because that's how we've created our journey, right? And naturally, as we embody this along the way from that point to our point where we transition out of this life, we're going to become this bearer of hope and this bearer of joy and peace, because within the chaos, people will feel you're a solid, centered, steady rock that they can come to and share their fears, their resentments with you. So, as a light myself, I have to go within frequently and really, get present to the story I'm telling myself, because even I have my own trepidations and, unknowns that occur in my life, things I plant and, I have hope to see them manifest and a desire for them to grow, and holding a steadiness within myself to allow divine timing to play itself out. When we want something, we want an outcome, and there's an expectation within ourselves to have it because it feels good and it's something we want to create. Um, we can often get caught up in our minds. And our minds can play tricks. Is this possible? Can that happen? Will it work? And, how will it work? And, what will it be like if it doesn't? And what if this is the outcome and the reality, right? And all kinds of emotions can start to, rise to the surface: anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment. We really want something to be a certain way. And that's natural and normal, because as a light, we actually have to kind of learn to get present to that kind of shadow within ourselves and recognize how to cultivate a compassion for this natural, tendency to want to cultivate a control or to attach ourselves to an expectation of something. And so I've been through that many, many times with myself. So I offer that to you as, a sense of hope that you're not alone, that just because I've been teaching this for a while or I coach other people doesn't mean that, I'm not someone who actually experiences life and goes through it too. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll get back. We'll talk about some practical ways to let your light shine.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. I'm Elizabeth Tripp, your host of Nourish the Soul. Thank you so much for joining us. We're sitting back, relaxing, sinking into deeper presence with ourselves. This is how we cultivate well-being. I've been a transformational coach for, I can't even believe it, almost a decade. But I often say to people, I've been transforming, and I guess you would call it helping people see themselves differently since I was like probably 16 and probably even before that. But I remember my friends used to say, you know, um, they'd coin me Dr. Fliz because Dr. Phil was really, prominent back in the day. I'm just going to read some comments here before we go into the last segment of the broadcast. So, Dan, thank you for sharing. Dan is saying, I'm reminding myself, even if God light is in control, what would Anne Frank do? Well, I need to do what nature is doing, stay connected to spirit that never changes. I guess it's again a chance to have faith no matter what material the world presents me. Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much. I really like that. Dan also comments, thanks for letting me breathe and affirm what I do know, love and light forever. That's a beautiful quote. Dan, that's exactly the emblem of being a light. That's what I mean. Having this faith that, these circumstances are happening, and things go maybe in a different way that we expect, right? Even if, let's go back to the example of the potato at the dinner, right? And we expect to have a great dinner with family. And then this discussion around whether the potato is healthy or fattening, right, happens. And there's all this charged energy, that expectation that this dinner was supposed to be amazing in our human self may be, sort of demolished. And now we're disappointed as a light, when met with disappointment, when met with dark shadow energy like heaviness or, even anger or frustration, it's really judging the experience itself. Can we offer our heart? And in that, a faith in knowing that there's something here for us to grow and learn and really open up to about ourselves, to life, to the other person, to the greater collective experience that is going to benefit us, that is actually going to be positive for us, because this contrast is actually helping us see a perspective that we have that charges us maybe in a negative way, that doesn't really support well-being. Who's ever been to a doctor and the prescription has said anger, frustration, sadness, guilt, shame, and fear are exactly what you need in order to be healthy and feel well? Nobody. But we can use them as catalysts to get into a resonance and a frequency that better matches the truth of our heart, our nature. So we can use all dark as a means to experience light. Dark can be the way in which light is birthed from. And that's important to know, because that can be applied to everything in our life. So to embody the power of light, we really want to bring this heartness to things, this perspective of the heart. Loving awareness looks at life, is looking down at this planet, and it is saying, this is what it is. And at the same time, it has compassion, and it recognizes there's pain and there is suffering and there is angst and there's a mixed bag of emotion, and the whole planet is vibrating. And it says, oh, the human journey, what the humans go through. I have deep understanding and awareness of that. And what the heart does is, the heart, without judgment, it doesn't judge anything. It doesn't make it wrong, holds this loving space to allow humanity to go what they're going through, to allow each individual to go what they go through. because it knows deep within the well of itself, there is good that comes from this challenge, this trepidation, this painful event, this suffering. And because of that, they will awaken to something far greater than they can in this moment even recognize. But if I hold this love steady and centered, they will feel that. And with that sense of being held and supported, they will be able to start to see clearly as the dust moves and things start to unfold the greater lesson. And we can do that. We can bring that towards ourselves because the loving awareness that I'm speaking of, as I gave that example, is ourself. We're not separated from God. We're not separated from the Creator. We're not separated from Source. We're made of it. The fabric of our being is a image of it. And so we can be that love. We can offer that to ourselves. And when we do that more and more and more and more, opening more and more and more, and not contracting and constricting in the shadow, in the darkness, in the chaos, we can actually continue to open our heart up to a greater level of kindness and compassion and finding the strength and power within ourselves to focus on what we want to experience in our own mini universes. And it just takes one universe to be the change, to affect another universe called the neighbor, to affect another universe called the other neighbor, to affect a block of people that live in one space, to change the way a whole unit of people interact and have conversation and experience life called the block they live on in their human life. So we've got to be this change. We've got to be this light. And so we want to know that it can start by simply just practicing mindfulness exercises. Just by joining me today and breathing deep into your body a couple rounds and filling your whole system up and squeezing your palms together, right? And letting it go and just affirming, I'm letting go, I'm letting go. That's a mindful practice. Following the mind's eye into the heart center, being present to the light, that's a mindful practice. Taking that pause, slowing down, that's a mindful practice. And then in that mindful practice, you want to start to be self-compassionate. I often, think of it like be the parent that we wish we had when we were like afraid and something scary had happened, or that, and we ourselves felt like we were in a sad situation. We wish someone would come and hug us. We'll give that to ourselves, right? And really check in throughout our day. It's not being on this like rushed autopilot. If I could say that 2020 was, the whole thing really was set in motion to slow us down. Go back to the way life really was. We had a whole different kind of mentality happening. There were some begruntled people about it, but we were really slowing down, getting more connected to ourselves, to nature. Don't go back to the old. Continue getting present with yourself and really practicing these daily intentions. Okay. Really allowing, I am connected and aware of my heart. I'm allowing my heart to be the guider of this experience. Okay. So these are some small practices. So as we start to close here, I'm going to read one more comment. Dan, again, thank you. And I also think it's important to be with others who are letting go of fear and shame that might try to re-grip them, so to speak. Dark tries to use dark and fear to lure me or us to fight. This is where I'll lose. It's like getting permission from others to let go and move up to more light and love. Yes, find a community. Find a community. Come to the radio show. Be here. I love your light, Dan. Invite others because this is a place for us to shine authentically, however we are, and to embrace people without judgment in this space. So, listeners, tonight, this really closes my broadcast on being a light. I, from my heart, send to you just the message of come into your heart space, settle there, slow down. The answers to what you're seeking are within, and everything you need is inside your temple. So hold that to your heart tonight. And please, if you need more support, reach out, elizabethtripp.com. Happy to be here for you. And in the meantime, namaste. We will see each other very, very, very soon. Thank you so much. Good night.